Good morning, everyone. It's 10 o'clock, and I would like to call to order the teleconference meeting of the Board of Directors of Friday, May 21st, 2021. Please note this meeting is being recorded. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Good morning, everyone. Director Arnold? Absent. Director Fredericks? Director Fredericks?
Here.
Am I on? Oh, thank you. Director Garbarino?
Here.
Director Grosball? Absent. Director Hernandez? Absent. Director Hill?
Here.
Thank you. Director Maston?
Here.
Thank you. Director Melgar? Director Melgar?
Here.
Thank you. Director Rabbit?
Here.
Director Rodoni?
Here.
Director Snyder?
Present.
Director Stephanie?
Present.
Thank you. Second Vice President Cochran?
Here.
First Vice President Theriault?
Here.
And President Parr?
Present.
Thank you. You have a quorum. I'm going to confirm staff on the line, starting with Dennis Mulligan,
Present.
Joe Wire,
Yes.
you. John Eberly, are you on the line with us today?
Yes, present. Good morning.
Thank you. Kim Manolius?
I'm here, thanks.
Thank you. Steve Miller?
Present. Good morning.
Mona Babasa?
Present.
Jim Swindler?
Present.
Kelly Hopper?
Present.
Great, thank you. That confirms staff on the line.
Thank you very much. And thank you again, everyone, for joining us this morning. And as always, we appreciate your patience as we continue to conduct our business in this manner. I'll, of course, be asking board members if they have any comments or questions on the agenda items. And if there are questions, I think I will try to turn it over to Amaret and let her call on people. She has a way of knowing who it is, and the rest of us sometimes just talk over each other, but we'll try to direct it here. And after discussion, we'll be taking the appropriate roll call vote. If you're not speaking, please remember to mute your phones to minimize the noise on today's call. And of course, unmute when you're speaking. And each page of the meeting packet is numbered on the bottom right-hand corner to help us follow along. And Director Snyder, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Snyder. Madam Secretary, would you please continue with the next item on the agenda?
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is actually a public comment, and we're going to take any and all comments on items on today's agenda. So if you wish to speak to an item, you don't have to wait for that item to come up, and we're going to speak to it now. Justine is assisting us today to moderate that public comment line, and in a second, Justine will be introducing our first speaker.
First speaker this morning is Manuel Gamboa. Mr. Gamboa?
Morning.
Good morning, Manuel.
Morning.
How are you this morning?
Good. My name is Manuel Gamboa, and my wife and I have been attending these meetings about a month after our son Kyle jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge in September of 2013. And I just want to, have good thoughts on the continuation of the construction of this net, the suicide barrier net, and the suicides haven't stopped. Prevention might have been, better. That was our goal, is to have no other family have to go through what, our families went through. And like I said, just, continue on that construction, construction, and just, rather be celebrating the end of that instead of all the sorrow of the people jumping off that bridge and ending their lives. And with that, just want to thank you for having us on, and looking forward to getting back in person to meet. And just want to wish everybody a good day.
Thank you very much, Manuel. And thank you for always keeping us focused on the prevention side of this.
You're welcome. Goodbye.
Our next speaker is Marina Sachetano. Marina, please use ** to unmute yourself.
Good morning, Marina.
Hi. Good morning. I want to make a few comments in a historic moment and in an effort of good faith. The Golden Gate Bridge Labor Coalition has ratified the CalPERS MOU. It will save the district millions of dollars over the life of our agreement. It is our express intent to bargain necessary wages that our members deserve over the next few months. The labor movement fought for millions of dollars of operating assistance for the Golden Gate Bridge and all transportation agencies. These funds were granted to stimulate the economy and get all transit back to work. The district applied for and received millions of dollars in assistance to be made whole for their lost revenues. President Biden recognizes the importance of organized labor and knows we need wage increases to survive even in this economy. That is why he gave $1.7 billion to the Bay Area for public transit. We expect the district to recognize the Golden Gate Bridge's Labor Coalition's contributions during this pandemic to keep operations ongoing at risk to themselves. We appreciate our discussions with our general manager, but it's not enough to say you will act in good faith. You must act upon it. We have shown our good faith in the manner of this agreement, and you must show yours when we resume bargaining for wage increases. The district must be true to their word and be forthcoming with wage increases. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina, and thank you for your relentless work with the members to reach agreement.
You're welcome.
Our next speaker is Shane Weinstein. Shane, go ahead.
Good morning, Director Shane Weinstein, President of the ATU. I want to echo Marina's comments and follow that. These funds, the ARP funding, these were intended as part of emergency legislation, and that was intended to be spent immediately, both for emergencies and what's going on here is we still have riders getting passed up. We have ghosted complete towns, and we also have between the coalition and the bus division, people who have been here the entire pandemic, risking their lives. 15 to 20% of my members contracted COVID-19, and they have been praised on multiple levels as being essential workers. But they deserve a little bit more than that. And I think it's a little foolish that the Golden Gate Bridge is deciding to bake budgets without having any of that ARP funding in it, when we all know that the bridge is going to be getting some ARP funding. So we just ask that you keep in mind the people that have been here coming and risking their lives, that they are rewarded with a wage increase. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shane, for your comments.
Our next speaker is Julia. Julia, please go ahead.
My name is Julia. I live in the Richmond district of San Francisco. First, I want to convey my sincere condolences to the Gamboa family. The sound of the bridge is auditory torture. It's like the windy and constant sound of amplified ringing in the ears from which you cannot even escape from inside your home, a sound that you want to go away. What I find even more disturbing is that, according to a KPIX interview on June 6, 2020, this nightmare was anticipated and being marketed as positive. It is not positive. It is not singing. Singing is pleasant. Please expedite the process to solve it. Fixing it should be the financial responsibility of the designer and team. Thank you to our Canadian neighbors for their assistance in cleaning up this U.S. mess. It is appreciated. They get an A for assistance. USA gets a D. Wishing everyone a pleasant and windless weekend.
Thank you, Julia.
President Parr, we have a few people who have joined, I believe, after I did polling. I'd like to ask for a few minutes to poll the room if you're okay with that.
Certainly. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, President Parr. I've polled the room, and I have 3 additional speakers this morning.
All right. Thank you, Justine.
Our next speaker is Lindsay Plump. Lindsay, go ahead, please.
Yes, I am Lindsay Klump. Hello, good morning to everybody. I represent San Rafael Heritage, and we have reviewed the various options. We are concerned about the 930 Tamalpais building, the Whistle Stop building, and also across the street there is the historic taxi stand building that is now Trevor's at 927 Tamalpais. And we don't support the relocation of the depot. It's best that the depot remain in its historic site as it retains sufficient aspects of integrity to make it eligible for local landmark status. There are a number of cases where historic buildings have been relocated and have maintained their status. However, we are very concerned about the cost of such an undertaking, and we expect if this would happen, such funds would be set aside to assure fulfillment of such a project. We ask to continue working with the district in partnership with the city and the district, no matter which option is decided upon finally. We will lend our expertise as issues develop to assure these historic structures are properly preserved, repurposed, managed, and maintained, and the depot is restored to an agreed upon period of significance. We expect the district to apply for local landmark status with the city. We have previously ourselves submitted a landmark application which has been withdrawn without prejudice, and that is the documents are in Golden Gate Transit hands to substantiate its status. Yes, and so we will continue being at the ready to assist in this process of planning and determining the scope of work for all of these buildings, especially the NWP depot. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crump. We appreciate the Heritage Foundation's input.
Okay. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Alita Dupree. Alita, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Board Chair Parr and members. Alita Dupree for the record. My pronouns are she and her. It's been a while since I've been able to be with you. I used to come to your meetings in person. And the bridge and the transit system ferries are all very important to me, and hopefully I will be on them soon. I have been thinking a lot about the matter of the new open road tolling gantry that the design was picked for. And I do keep up with your materials, but I haven't heard anything as to the status of the project where we will be able to build that and install the new open road tolling equipment and then ultimately be able to remove the toll plaza and ensuring that the clock is preserved. Open road tolling has many benefits, and I've mentioned at many other meetings about matters of safety, not having to stop, and a toll plaza is just an obstruction. So I hope that we can have some kind of dashboard as to the progress of that. While I have not been engaged with your district as of late, except for some occasional public hearing emails, I am very fortunate that I have in a way stayed engaged, as I do go to the Clipper meetings, of which your general manager, Dennis Mulligan, is very engaged. So you're doing it now. And I appreciate it. So I think we have to continue our work with Clipper and being able to do the open payments on the buses so we can move away from paper tickets and just make things easier. So those are my two things for today. But I will say this about the bridge, a bridge that I enjoy and am passionate about it. There's one word to describe this bridge. That word is legendary. Thank you.
Thank you, Alita.
Our next speaker is Leslie Simons. Leslie?
Would
You
you
can hear me?
please
Yes, we
make
can.
sure that unless you're the
Okay.
speaker, your phone's muted. We're getting a little background noise here. Go ahead, Leslie.
Okay, I'm speaking on item 8A2 relating to the transit center and the depot building and the building across the street, which was a taxi office relating to the depot. In the discussion yesterday, they spoke to the fact that the building is probably not eligible for national listing, and I totally agree. However, it is an extremely important example of our development here in San Rafael as a railroad suburb. And therefore, the buildings, both of them, are very important and should not be messed around with. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leslie.
President Parr, we've come to the end of our speakers for this morning.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, public, for your comments. Mr. Mulligan, would you like to offer a response to any of the comments?
Sure, especially with respect to Ms. Sacitano. I was going to talk about it later in the meeting, but maybe I'll talk about it now just to reaffirm what I've shared with her and the other union leadership. But first, I'd like to thank them for their leadership, the heads of the union coalition. I'd like to thank our employees. Later, we'll have a discussion and an item come out that talks about a potential settlement with the union coalition on a portion of the contract dealing with medical benefits, but not dealing with wages. And I do want to acknowledge that because of the extreme financial condition of the district, we cannot agree to a wage increase at this time. Bridge traffic has not returned to pre-pandemic levels, and the district's losing about $1.5 million each week. So although we've received some much needed federal assistance, thus far they've been one-time payments, and there's no guarantee of financial stability in the future. And the district's number one priority right now is avoiding layoffs. To use federal stimulus funds to increase wages without waiting for bridge traffic to return could hasten layoffs. I recognize that our employees have gone a long time without a raise, and we're certainly sympathetic to the financial situation. And I believe that we need to increase wages in order to retain our talented workforce and attract new hires in the future. And at the right juncture, when our financial situation permits on a continuous ongoing basis, it would be appropriate to have that conversation. I do think we'll have a better idea of where bridge traffic levels are heading this summer. The vaccination rollout's been highly effective in the Bay Area, particularly in our service area. And the COVID-19 infection rates are dropping. Hospitalizations in some counties are nil. So we have shared with the Union Coalition that we're looking forward to sitting down and meeting with them this summer to revisit the issue of wages and wage increases potentially once we know what our financial stability is on an ongoing basis, once we see what bridge traffic is. And so I just wanted to state that for the record. And I wanted to thank Marina, Lemoyne, and David for their leadership. And like I said, thank all of our employees. And we'll be talking more about this later on the agenda. But since they spoke now, I wanted them to hear my statement, not having to wait for the rest of the meeting. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. This concludes public comments to the board. Madam Secretary, would you please continue on to the next agenda item?
Thank you. Item number 5 is to approve the consent calendar, including approval of minutes from the committee and board meetings of April, as well as ratification of previous actions by the Auditor Control. The consent calendar is actually located in your packet, starting on page 5 to 24. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Before we take our vote, are there any questions from board members on the consent calendar? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please take the, or may I have a motion? May I have a motion first? May I have a motion on this item, please?
I'll move the consent agenda.
Thank you. And may I have a second?
Second, Melgar.
All right, thank you. Madam Secretary, now would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We're voting on item number 5 with a first from Director Cochran and a second from Director Melgar, starting with Director Arnold. Absent. Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Yes. Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Yes. Director Grosball. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Melgar.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Right. Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Theriault.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes unanimously.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Would you please introduce the next item?
Item number 6A is the report of the General Manager, and that staff report can be found on page 25. Dennis Mulligan's here to present his report. Dennis, go ahead.
Thank you. Madam President, members of the board, members of the public, good morning. My written report is before you. I'll take one item out of order in my report, and that is I need to respectfully ask the board to ratify and authorize some emergency actions I've taken as your general manager. This appears on page 32 of your packet. Last month, you ratified an emergency action I took to dry dock our Sausalito Ferry Terminal Emergency Float Repair Project, contract number 2021-F-27. We awarded a contract on an emergency basis to Bay Ship and Yacht to do some emergency repairs to the float. The float was taken over there, and while the original contract amount was $750,000, when we took the float out of the water and we were able to fully investigate it, we realized that the needed repairs were more extensive than we originally anticipated. And so I need to increase the contract amount by $550,000 to a total of $1.3 million. And the work is ongoing and underway. We look forward to having the float back in service in Sausalito by the middle of next month, by mid-June, so that we can restore ferry service to Sausalito as traffic picks up. And so with that, I'm available to ask any questions, and I respectfully ask for a motion on that.
All right, thank you. So we need to ratify the emergency action of the general manager to approve an emergency contract with Bay Ship Company related to the Sausalito ferry float. Are there any questions from directors just on this ratification, not on the rest of the general manager's report? All right, hearing none, may I have a motion on this item, please?
Also move this version.
Patty, it's second.
All right. Sounds like we got a lot of firsts and a lot of seconds. Thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. Acknowledge that first from Director Hill and a second from Director Garbarino on this one. Voting on item 6A1, starting with Director Arnold. Absent. Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Yes. Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosball. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Aye. Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Melgar.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Terrio.
Yes.
And President Barr.
Yes.
Thank you. That item passes unanimously.
Thank you. The emergency item is ratified. We'll continue with Mr. Mulligan and his report, but I just want to point out, as I always do, that, and he will also, that this report has 8 people on it, 8 employees with 20 to 25 years of service. Director Arnold has 10 years of service on the board, and of course, our Employee of the Month. So thank you, Mr. Mulligan. Would you please continue?
Certainly, Madam President. With respect to our core business, travel is still well below pre-pandemic levels in the Golden Gate corridor. During the week of May 2nd, ridership was down on our buses by about 79%, so we only carried 21% of our normal bus ridership, and our ferry ridership was down 95%. We only carried 5% of our normal ferry ridership. And bridge traffic was down about 23% when compared to the same week pre-pandemic. That having been said, those numbers are slightly better than they have been for quite some time. It does appear we're starting to see an inching up in travel in the corridor. However, at this juncture, very few people are commuting from the North Bay into San Francisco for work. During the morning commute, Monday through Friday from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m., bridge traffic is still down 38%, and that's in light of the greatly reduced bus and ferry service that we're providing at this juncture in the corridor. We do look forward to welcoming back our customers, and the district will provide transit service to meet the demand of our customers, to provide mobility in the corridor and to avoid congestion and to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. In that regard, as things start to open up, we will see restoration of services. The question is how to roll that service restoration out in an informed fashion. The Metropolitan Transportation Commission has partnered with the Bay Area Council to conduct research with employers regarding their plans for reopening workplaces, bringing office workers and other non-essential workers back. So they're surveying their employees and employers every month, and they're going to do this for the next 5 months to monitor development in the workplace reopening plans. The first polling results for April have been released, and I included a link to that if you wish to see it in my general manager's report. It's on page 27 of your packet. Separately, the district is currently conducting a survey of our prior riders and hopefully future riders with respect to what their plans are and what they're hearing from their bosses. Most of our bus and ferry customers sign up for electronic alerts. That's how they are made aware of schedule delays and schedule changes. And so we have great communication avenues. We pushed out to them a link for a little 5-minute survey to find out what they're hearing from their bosses and what their plans are. And we'll present the results of our bus and ferry surveys at our June meetings. We look forward to presenting that information to you. I'm also pleased to announce that the San Francisco Department of Public Health approved the Bridge District's Health and Safety Plan for Transit. Based on that and based on guidance from the Marin County Public Health Officer, the district has changed the social distancing requirement on our buses and ferries between Marin and San Francisco from 6 feet, which is about 25% capacity, to 3 feet, 50% capacity. This change took effect on Wednesday of this week. We're still maintaining 6 foot of space around our transit staff and seated passengers on our vessels and our buses, and we look forward to relaxing the standards in Sonoma and Contra Costa counties as we work with the appropriate public health officials at those locations. One last thing before I get into what President Parr talked about, which is all our great employees and board members. Yesterday we had an item that was to approve a zero-emission bus plan, and there was public comment on that, and it was a great presentation by Sasha and Mona. And one question that rose was that in the plan it shows that in 2024 we would have a bus purchase that includes some diesel buses. And I want to remind everybody that the proposed plan is a floor, not a ceiling, and it is a living document. At this juncture, technology does not exist for over-the-road coaches, which are the Greyhound or Google-style buses that meet the service profile for the area we serve in terms of the length of trips and going up and down hills. But I want to state that if the technology evolves and battery electric buses become available that meet that service profile, that since it's a living document, we can change the direction it is. However, we need to submit something to CARB that complies with their requirements, and what will be before you later today clearly does that. Moving on to my favorite part of the meeting, which is the service awards. We have several retirements. First off, we have a bus operator, Nicholas Ortiz, who's retiring after more than 24 years of service with the Bridge District. He joined us on November 25th, 1996. We wish Mr. Ortiz a long and happy retirement. Then we also have bus driver Paul Rashinsky retiring after 22 years and 2 months of service with the district. He retired on May 1st. And we want to wish Mr. Rashinsky a long and happy retirement. Switching to service awards, people that are still staying with us, fortunately, I want to acknowledge and thank Kathy Amoroso, who is an engineering document contract assistant for 25 years of service with the district. She started with the district on May 6, 1996. She initially worked for the district as a cashier in our former gift center. Then she worked as a vault officer in our former vault department. Then she was an office specialist in the district secretary's office. And currently she's employed in the engineering department, managing the documents and contracts with them. I also want to present a 25-year service award to Tomas Clays. Mr. Clays has been with the district for 25 years, and we're very, very pleased to have him as part of our organization. He works in our IT department. In September 2004, he was selected as the Employee of the Month, and he's lived in the Bay Area since 1991. Next up, we have a series of bus operators that started work on May 11th, 20 years ago. First, we have Zaina Selassie. She started with the district as a bus operator on May 11th, 2001, and she celebrated her 20-year anniversary on May 11th. Similarly, Diego Villabona celebrated 20 years of service with the district. Prior to driving for the district, he was a bus operator in Napa and Santa Clara counties. And I want to call out that Mr. Villabona has received a 16-year safe driving award. And so our hats off to him. In his free time, he enjoys spending time with his daughters and doing things outdoors, such as biking. We have a 20-year service award for Dexter Senegar. Mr. Senegar has celebrated 20 years of service. He also joined us on May 11th. And then the last one in that class celebrating 20 years of service today is bus operator Kevin Collins. And so we want to thank all of them for their excellent service to the district, and we look forward to their continued employment for a long time. As President Parr mentioned, I'm very pleased to announce that Director Junie Arnold has celebrated 10 years of service with the district on May 13th. She joined the district on May 13th, 2011. Director Arnold has an accomplished career in government, including launching the Marin Economic Forum to focus on the connection between a sustainable economy and our environmental and social equity goals. She's a tremendous advocate for our employees and a tremendous transportation advocate, championing bus, rail, and ferries throughout the North Bay. Also, which many of you may not know, she's an accomplished writer, having published a couple of children's books. So thank you, Judy, for all that you do for us. Finally, the Employee of the Month Committee met, and for May 2021, they selected Gabriel Jaquez. Sergeant Jaquez receives this for his professionalism, his organization, and his dedication. Among other things, he developed a succinct and comprehensive reference to, quote, Patrol Officer's Field Book. That is a valuable tool for the department staff. He's always stepping up above and beyond the call of duty, and he carries himself with pride, respect for his coworkers, and has a level of integrity that just is exemplary. When difficult situations arise, as they often do in our security department, he remains professional, calm, and collected. His colleagues especially noted that he's an asset to the security department as well as the district as large, and importantly to the community and the public he serves. He has a long storied career in the U.S. Navy before he joined us, and so I want to recognize and thank him as our Employee of the Month. With that, I'm available to answer any questions you might have, but I do want to once again thank all his employees for their long service with the district, including Director Arnold.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from the board related to the general manager's report?
So, Chair Pare, this is Mirna Melgar from San Francisco. I have a comment and a question for the general manager.
Go ahead. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much. Colleagues, a couple weeks ago, my colleague on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, Gordon Marr, who represents the Sunset District, introduced a resolution which we all approved unanimously, urging the Golden Gate Bridge Transportation Highway District to work together with the CPUC and the Recreation and Parks, the Department, the California Parks Department, to ensure that there is a ferry service to Angel Island. And this is, as we all know, Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. That island is such a crucial part of the history of Chinese immigration to the Bay Area. And as such, we want to acknowledge how important it is and the work that we are doing to preserve the ferry service. I just want to take a moment to read a paragraph from a poem that is written on the Angel Island walls. It says, "Imprisoned in the wooden building day after day, my freedom withheld, how can I bear to talk about it? I look to see who is happy, but they only sit quietly. I am anxious and depressed and cannot fall asleep. Nights are long and the pillow cold. Who can pity my loneliness? America has power, but not justice. In prison, we are victimized as if we were guilty, given no opportunity to explain. It was really brutal. I bow my head in reflection, but there is nothing I can do." These poems were translated by KQED's Asian Education Initiative and shared in an op-ed by Richard Louie, who is an author and journalist and a board member of the Angel Island Immigration Station Foundation, whose grandfather was detained on Angel Island. And so I wanted to tell you, my colleagues, what our Board of Supervisors did in upholding this historic place in our area and access to it from everyone. And I wanted to ask the general manager if he could please update us on what is going on in ensuring that there is ferry service to Angel Island. Thank you, Chair Pare, for allowing me to speak.
Well, thank you so much for that. That was important that we all needed to hear. Mr. Mulligan, do you have a comment on that, please?
Yes, thank you, Supervisor Melgar, for bringing this up. The Angel Island ferry service from San Francisco has been operated for many decades by a private operator called Blue and Gold. They also operate service to between San Francisco and Tiburon. The Blue and Gold has petitioned the California Public Utilities Commission to abandon the Tiburon ferry service and the Angel Island ferry service. The board may recall that about 3 years ago, they petitioned CPUC to abandon commute ferry service out of Tiburon, and the Bridge District stepped into their shoes, so there was no cessation in that service. Similarly, we look forward to stepping into Blue and Gold's shoes for midday Tiburon service, but more importantly, service between San Francisco and Angel Island. So we've been in discussions with all the appropriate parties, including state parks. The Bridge District shared a draft term sheet with state parks about 6 weeks ago. State parks is supposed to send us a draft agreement to review this afternoon, but we look forward to, hopefully as soon as next month, bringing an item to the board for an agreement to allow us to use your landing. The Bridge District operates out of the ferry building, which is actually more preferred, I think, for many of the people going to Angel Island in San Francisco than Pier 41, because it's very accessible by lots of transit in San Francisco. But we've been in discussions with state parks. We've also been in discussions with the California State Transportation Agency. We have taken our boats over to the landing several times to make sure our boats fit. We've taken naval architects and marine engineers over to see if we could do some minor modifications so all of our boats fit. And so we are in discussions to take over that service. And like I said, hopefully as soon as next month, we'll have an agreement with state parks that we can bring to you to approve that would allow that to take place. Traffic from San Francisco to get to Angel Island would have to drive across the Golden Gate Bridge, exacerbating congestion, greatly increasing VMT, to get to Tiburon to take a short ferry ride across if this ferry service doesn't exist. So it is consistent with our mission to reduce congestion in the Golden Gate corridor, to get cars off the bridge to operate this service. And State Park seems very, very interested in us stepping into this role. So our staff under Jim Swindler's leadership, with one of Kim Manola's colleagues, Michael Connor and Norma Jellison, our real estate person, are actively engaged in this topic. And we're gladly answer any questions that you may have on it.
Thank you. Are there questions from other board members?
Madam President, not on this matter, but on a question. I'd like Director Melgar a comment and a question.
All right, but it's not on the topic? Okay, go ahead.
Not on this topic, no. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to thank Director Melgar again for bringing it up and shining a light on it. And thank you, Dennis and Jim, for all the work that you've already done. And please make sure that we keep current on this. So if you would put it on the board agenda for the next meeting, that would be appreciated. Okay, thank you, Director Theriault. Go ahead.
Yeah, I note that in the Bay Area Council's employer survey, the primary concern with regard to public transit by employers shifted between April and May from a concern about COVID directly to a concern about assurances of the safety of public transit in that regard. That's a little, at the same time, it seems to be encouraging with regard to getting riders back on, but also it suggests messaging that we can exploit to bring back ridership as we return more or less to normal. The question I had was with regard to a bicycle accident that was shown as between a bicycle and an automobile on the bridge. How did that happen?
Sometimes bicycles are on the roadway where they should not be. And so it's very rare when it happens, but sometimes the bicyclists take advantage of the roadway when they shouldn't. It's expressly prohibited, and it rarely ends in a good outcome.
Yeah, thank you. I can imagine. Okay.
Are there other comments or questions for the general manager? All right, hearing none, Mr. Mulligan, thank you again for your report. Thank you again, Director Melgar, for bringing that to our attention. And Madam Secretary, would you please introduce the next item?
Thank you. The next item is report of the attorney, and that staff report can be found on page 43 of your packet. On the line, we have Kim Manolius to present his report. Kim, go ahead.
Thanks, Amrit. Appreciate it. My written report's before you. As Amrit said, I'm happy to take any questions. We do have 3 closed sessions today. One concerning conduit's indemnity obligation to the district for a long-fought bit of litigation. Second, we want to report to you about a case called the Hayes case. Thirdly, there's a conference with our labor negotiator. And President Parr, I believe that you wanted to take that sooner rather than later, correct?
I would like to do that, please. So if there are people on the line that are waiting to see if the board ratifies the labor agreement, that they can be relieved of their phone call if they want to be. So thank you for that.
Okay. So do you want to go into closed session now, President Parr?
Please.
Okay. At this time, the board will go into closed session for a conference with its labor negotiator under Government Code Section 54956.7.6 to hear from Hanson Bridget regarding negotiations with the various labor coalition unions.
All right, thank you. I'm going to pause the public line in just a second and put us in closed session. Thank you. We are back in open session.
Great. The board met in closed session with its labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code 54957.6 and was briefed on various items. That's the report out of closed session. I would turn it over to Molly to craft the action item.
Sure. So we are asking the board this morning to vote to approve the Memorandum of Understanding between the Golden Gate Bridge Highway and Transportation District and the Union Coalition regarding transition to CalPERS medical plans. And this applies to current active employees as well as retirees. And we'll transition those employees and retirees who are members of the coalition to CalPERS medical plans. It also creates HRA funds to defray the costs of employees' out-of-pocket expenses and provides for stipends to incent employees to enroll in particular plans. We also ask that the board approve a $750 signing bonus for employees in exchange for their agreement to allow this transition to move forward without settling the rest of the memorandums of understanding.
Thank you, Ms. Caven. Are there any questions from the directors on this item? Hearing none, there is an action before us. May I have a motion on this recommendation, please?
So moved. Second, Patty.
And I have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, please conduct a roll call vote.
Thank you. We're voting with a first from Director Fredericks and a second from Director Garbarino, starting with Director Arnold. Absent. Director Fredericks?
Yes.
Yes. Director Garbarino?
Yes.
Director Grosboll? Absent. Director Hernandez?
Yes, thank you, Madam Secretary. This is Director Hernandez, and for the record, I'd like to declare that I'm recusing myself given my paid position at IBEW Local 6, one of the entities involved in this coalition negotiation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for informing me of that. I'll mark that into the record. Director Hill?
Yes.
Yes. Director Maston?
Aye.
Aye. Director Melgar?
Aye.
Director Rabbit?
Aye.
Aye. Director Rodoni?
Aye.
Aye. Director Snyder? Director Snyder?
I think I have to recuse myself on this one. Sorry, I got off for a minute.
Oh, okay. Cool. Thank you for letting me know. I'll also include that into the record. Thank you. Director Stephanie?
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran?
Yes.
Yes. First Vice President Theriault?
Yes.
Yes. And President Parr?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. That motion passes with 11 ayes and 2 recusals. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd just like to say this is always a welcome agenda item, and I want to take just a personal moment to thank the coalition leadership, their membership, the bridge leadership, all of the negotiating teams for their relentless work in talking, seeking to understand, listening, explaining, and ultimately forming solutions that work in the best interest of most of those involved. I do understand it's a long and sometimes thankless undertaking, and I want to acknowledge the negotiations and compromises that have been worked out. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have the vote go yes. All right, and we will take the rest of the closed session items at the end of our meeting. We'll go back into closed session for that. Thank you for your patience on that. And Madam Secretary, would you please continue with the agenda?
Thank you. Item 6C is report of the district engineer. The report is found on page 45 of the board meeting packet, and Ms. Barr Furbish is not on our call today, and instead we have Deputy District Engineer John Eberly on the line to present this report. Mr. Eberly, go ahead.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam President and members of the board. Our written report is included in your package. I'd like to report just a few items. First, on the suicide deterrent project, I'd like to report that it is continuing to make progress. We have 236 of the 369 net supports now installed. Also, existing side travelers and suspension bridge spans 1, 2, and 4 have been removed, which will allow the installation of the side rails to continue at those locations. And as reported last month, we have begun work on the east side rail work, and that is making good progress also. And then with regard to the wind retrofit, we will be performing additional wind tunnel tests next month, and we will report the test results after that. And we're optimistic that we'll have a solution that will both mitigate the noise, but will also be durable and will stand up to the harsh marine environmental conditions we have here at the bridge. And with that, I'm available to answer any other questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Everly. Are there board members who have questions for the deputy engineer? I think it's good news that we're continuing to work on the sound issue. We get a lot of feedback from constituents on that one. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Would you please continue with the agenda?
Well, we're going to move on to item 8 since there's no other reports under item 7. And item 8A is the report of transportation meetings from yesterday, Thursday, May 20th, 2021. That summary of recommendations for this meeting can be found on page 81 of your packet.
Thank you very much. And as a reminder to everyone, the action items before us today were discussed at length at yesterday's Transportation and Finance Auditing Committee meetings before being presented to the full board for action today. We had 2 very informative presentations by our consultants on the zero emissions bus rollout plan and the San Rafael Transit Center relocation project, as well as an in-depth initial presentation of the proposed fiscal year 21-22 operating and capital budget by our auditor controller. Thank you to the colleagues who were able to participate in those meetings. We did have very robust discussions and great comments. So with that, Chair Fredericks, would you please begin your committee report to the board?
Thank you, President Parr. The Transportation Committee met yesterday and is recommending authorization of Board Agenda Item Number 8A1 to approve the district's zero-emission bus rollout plan and board resolution for submittal to and in compliance with the California Air Resources Board Innovative Clean Transit Regulation, and I so move.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Thank you. I have a motion. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you. Before we take our vote, are there any board members with questions or comments on this item? All right, Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Thank you. We're voting on item number 8A. Oh, Director Hill. Director Hill has a question?
A comment. I want to thank the general manager for clarifying relative to 2024 diesel, being that we will stay in track with the technology and modify that as it becomes available. Thank you.
Good. Any other comments or questions? All right, hearing none, Madam Secretary, now would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We have a first from Director Fredericks and a second from Second Vice President Cochran, starting with Director Arnold. Absent. Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosboll. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Aye. Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Melgar.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Tirio.
Yes.
And President Barr.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Chair Fredericks, will you please continue with your report?
Thank you, President Parr. The Transportation Committee is also recommending approval of Board Agenda Item Number 8A2 to designate the Move Whistle Stop alternative as the preferred alternative to serve as the focus of the draft environmental impact report relative to project number 2017-D30, San Rafael Transit Center relocation analysis, environmental clearance, and preliminary design, as detailed in the staff report, and I so move.
Thank you. I have a motion on the item. May I have a second?
Second by Maston.
Well, second, Burt Hill.
I heard Maston get in there first with the second. Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments from board members on this item? If you'll notice, there's a long process involved. This is just the beginning of this process. So it won't be the last time we hear about the San Rafael Transit Center relocation. So hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We're voting on item 8A2, starting with Director Arnold. Absent. Director Frederick.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosboll. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Melgar.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Tirio.
Yes.
Yes. And President Parr.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That motion also passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. The item is adopted. Chair Fredericks, do you have anything further to report?
Madam President, that concludes my report.
Thank you again, Chair Fredericks. Madam Secretary, please continue with the next item on the agenda.
Item 8B is report of the Finance Auditing Committee of Thursday, May 20th, 2021. And that summary of recommendations for that meeting can be found on page 83 of your packet.
Thank you. Chair Rabbit, please begin your committee's report to the board.
Thank you, President Parr. And like you, I'd like to echo your comment about the informative presentations and discussions at yesterday's meeting. In particular, I want to thank the Auditor Controller and his staff for once again putting together such a comprehensive budget document, really during such a difficult time. I encourage everyone to go through the budget document and reach out to Joe Wire with any questions before the next finance meeting in June. That said, I'll start my committee's report. The Finance Auditing Committee met yesterday and is recommending authorization of Board Agenda Item 8B1 to authorize execution of the Fourth Amendment to Contract Number 2019-D-067, Interim Temporary Staffing Services with Techie Brains, Inc. of Normal, Illinois, to provide professional services in support of the Kronos Timekeeping System project and authorize a budget increase in capital project number 2013 Electronic Timekeeping System Upgrade as detailed in the staff report, and I so move.
Thank you. I have a motion on the item. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All right, thank you. Before we take our vote, are there any board members who wish to comment or have questions? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We're voting on item 8B1 with the first from Director Rabbit and a second from Director Frederick, starting with Director Arnold. Absent. Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosboll. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Melgar.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Tirio.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The item is adopted. Chair Rabbit, please continue your report.
Thank you, Madam President. The Finance Auditing Committee is recommending approval of Board Agenda Item 8B2 to authorize the execution of the extension of the line of credit with J.P. Morgan Chase Bank for the commercial paper program at a cost of 0.52% per annum for a total cost of approximately $804,000 for the period of June 30th, 2021 through June 29th, 2023. And I so move.
Thank you. I have a motion. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments from board members on this item? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We're voting on item 8B2 with the first from Director Rabbit and a second from First Vice President Theriault, starting with Director Arnold. Absent, Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosboll. Absent, Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Milgar.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Theriault.
Yes.
And President Barr.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously as well.
Thank you. The item is adopted. Chair Rabbit, please continue your report.
The Finance Auditing Committee is recommending authorization of a Board Agenda Item 8B3 to award contract number 2021-B-041 Golden Gate Bridge Interim Toll Collection System to P Square Solutions, LLC of Mount Laurel, New Jersey, in the not to exceed of
presentation, so I stopped.
Excuse me, someone needs to mute their phone if they would, please. Not you, David.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate that. So once again,
Yeah.
this is the Golden Gate Bridge Interim Toll Collection System contract to P Square Solutions, LLC of Mount Laurel, New Jersey, in the not to exceed amount of $3,456,937 for software, hardware, 1-year warranty, and implementation of the interim. Now my phone went off. For the interim toll collection system, and authorize $4,754,372 for maintenance and support services for a 3-year base term of $2,482,517, with 3 additional 1-year option terms to be exercised at the general manager's discretion, and authorize the general manager or designee to pay from the project budget for work already performed as part of the original interim solution that supports the new interim solution, establish a contract contingency in the amount of $345,693, and authorize a budget increase in the amount of $3 million for the toll system upgrade project. That's project number 1525, as detailed in the staff report. And with that, I so move.
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions from board members on this item? Hearing none, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
Thank you. We're voting on item 8B3 with the first from Director Rabbit and a second from Second Vice President Cochran, starting with Director Arnold. Absent, Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosboll. Absent, Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Milgar.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Aye.
First Vice President Terrio,
Yes.
and President Parr.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The item is adopted. Chair Rabbit, please continue your report.
Thank you, Madam President. The Finance Auditing Committee is recommending authorization of Board Agenda Item 8B4 to authorize workers' compensation claims program administration services with Athens Administrators of Concord, California, relative to contract number 2021-D-005, third-party administrator for workers' compensation claims and ancillary services in the amount of $1,020,609 for a 3-year base term effective July 1st, 2021, with 2 one-year options to be exercised at the general manager's discretion in an amount not to exceed $350,409 for the 4th year and $360,921 for the 5th year for claims program administration, and authorize ancillary support services for medical case management, utilization review, medical provider network, and bill review at the rate set forth in Athens cost proposal as detailed in the staff report. And with that, I so move.
Thank you. I have a motion. May I have a second, please?
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Are there questions from board members on this item? Hearing none, Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
We're voting on item 8B4 with a first from Director Rabbit and a second from Director Frederick, starting with Director Arnold. Absent. Director Frederick.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosboll. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Aye. Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Melgar.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran.
Yes.
First Vice President Terrio.
Yes.
And President Parr.
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The item is adopted. Chair Rabbit, do you have anything further to report?
Madam President, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Rabbit. Madam Secretary, would you please continue with the next item on the agenda?
We're going to move on to item 10 since there's no addresses to the board under item 9. And item number 10A is the discussion and possible action to terminate the suspension of board procedural rules and policies for COVID-19 related emergency actions. Mr. Mulligan's brief staff report is again before you on page 85, and he's available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any board members that have a question for Mr. Mulligan? Hearing none, that concludes the discussion on this item. It appears that we should not be terminating the suspension of board procedural rules and policies at this time. Director Terrio, you generally like to make that motion. May I have a motion to revisit the matter at the next regular board meeting on June 25th?
Certainly, Madam President. I move to continue this item to special business at the next meeting of the board.
Thank you very much. And may I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please conduct a roll call vote?
We're voting on item 10A with a first from First Vice President Terrio and a second from Director Maston, starting with Director Arnold. Absent. Director Fredericks.
Yes.
Director Garbarino.
Yes.
Director Grosboll. Absent. Director Hernandez.
Aye.
Aye. Director Hill.
Yes.
Director Maston.
Aye.
Director Melgar.
Aye.
Director Rabbit.
Aye.
Director Rodoni.
Aye.
Director Snyder.
Aye.
Director Stephanie.
Aye.
Second Vice President Cochran,
Yes.
First Vice President Terrio,
Yes.
and President Parr.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. That motion passes unanimously. We'll move on.
Thank you. The item is adopted. Mr. Manolius, I think you need to take us back into closed session then, if you would, please.
Of course, President Parr. At this time, the board will go into closed session for two matters, both conferences with legal counsel, one anticipated litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9A, in re Conduent State and Local Solution Inc.'s indemnity obligations to the district. And secondly, a conference with the legal counsel for existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9A with regard to the Hayes versus Golden Gate District case.
All right. We're going to put the public line on hold, so bear with us for 1 second. We're going to pause. We are back in open session.
Thank you. The attorney will take us out of closed session.
Great. Thanks, President Parr. The board met in closed session on the two items on the agenda. With regard to the first item, anticipated litigation with Conduent, Government Code Section 54956.9A, the board received a briefing and gave appropriate guidance. With regard to the second case, the Hayes case, existing litigation, the board was briefed on the status of the matter.
Thank you very much. We have no unfinished business or new business. Item number 13 is communications. You will note that this morning you got an updated communications email for you to look at, people responding to us via mail. If you would like a copy of the actual communications, please contact the district secretary's office. So we've now reached the end of the agenda, and there are no further items to be presented to the board. Again, thank you to everyone that joined us for today. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
It sounds like we have a motion. A second. Is there anyone opposed? Do I have a second? We'll take one of those as a second, Amrit.
Yeah. Yes, I will.
Okay. Anyone opposed? Hearing no objections, we'll be adjourning today's meeting in the memory of retired Bridge Lieutenant Daniel Brown, retired bus mechanic Judith Corsello, and Richard Lee Butler, the brother of Administrative Assistant Roberta Ray. Please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. This concludes the meeting of the Board of Directors. The time is 11:35 a.m.